Okay, this is Crypto CJ. Welcome to today's trade of the day. Tonight it's the Monday night Zoom. So I've got 20 or 30 people here, mostly from Altcoin Alert, some from iCoinPro, and some from other trading platforms that I've joined over the year or so that I've been doing this. Let's get started. We'll get over to that in a few minutes, but I wanted to point out this XTZ alert that just went off. I put an alert on the 5-minute chart on the 30 RSI here. And what probably happened is it wicked down briefly and then came back up, which is why it's not there right now. But XTZ is in a dip pattern. If this continues below the Bollinger Band, this green line here, it could enter into a 1, 2, 3 dip, and that's the kind of trade I'd be interested in doing. So we'll get back to that in a little while. I think I was done with do you see the Bitcoin chart now? Okay, Andy's nodding his head, so I think I'm in the right place. So maybe I'll do some editing on this video. But for now, I'll show what I was looking at before. On Thursday, we were up here over 50. It dropped down here about 43 on Bitcoin during Sunday morning, and then now it's working its way back up, which is bringing up a lot of the coins that had been down. So we like to see that. Be interesting to see if we can punch through 50,000 today. Not sure if it'll happen. 50,000 was support not that long ago. It looks like it's resistance now. So whenever you're trading crypto, you're trading two coins. You're trading Bitcoin and then whatever altcoin you're looking at. So speaking of altcoins, let's go to Altcoin Alert. And I'm going to show you some of the new people how I look at this. First thing we have is our top 5 AA scores. They're all in the 70s. I like to see, if I'm going to look at one of these seriously, I like to see it 80 or higher, but those have been difficult to find lately. So I'm going to go ahead and sort this real quick by the AA score, and it'll bring up the top ones. And as you can see, a lot of them have poop under trading activity or social activity, which is why I don't spend much time on the AA scores. At least I haven't recently. I do think they do have some value in the overall analysis process, but I don't only rely on them by any means at all. What I prefer to do is sort by the 1 hour projected range and by trading activity. So let's start with the 1 hour projected range. And this has changed a bit since I looked at this about an hour ago. Yeah, both of these have poop under social activity and trading activity. More interested in trading activity than social activity. And the ones that I have stars next to, I've traded before on Binance. I trade on Binance International using a VPN. I know a lot of you out there use Coinbase Pro or KuCoin or CoinMetro or some of those. Those are all okay, but I just prefer Binance with the larger volume and the largest variety of coins to trade. So far, I don't see anything here in this sort that really interests me. Until right about here. Solana is a coin they talked about on Friday. I'm actually staking this one, so I'm familiar with it. So I've got a thumbs up here under social activity, another thumbs up under trading activity. I like these scores. I'm looking for neutral or better for an AA score. And on this upper score here, I like to see it 5% or higher. This one's 6.36%. And on the short-term sentiment, long-term sentiment, they're both neutral. I like to see neutral or better. So with that in mind, let's check out Solana. Let's use a different one. That's going to happen every time I open a new window. Okay, so Solana has gone through some pretty volatile candle action throughout earlier today. It's above the SMA line. It did punch through the top of the Bollinger Band, and now it's trending down. I don't see an obvious trade here. What you might want to do is set an alert either down here at the bottom of the Bollinger Band. You can right-click here, add an alert, and then click Create. I'm not going to here because I don't want more of those going off during this presentation, or you can do an alert on the RSI. This is what I often prefer to do, because when an RSI alert goes off, usually a dip is in the second or third dip, and those are the ones that we are more likely to take it sooner. So I can right-click here, add an alert. I'll have to change it to the 30 value. And 30 on the RSI, or the Relative Strength Index, is an indication generally that the coin is oversold and is due for a comeback. It doesn't always work. None of these do. But the more technical indicators and candle action that go the way that you want, the better chance you have success for any trade that you do. So I'll go ahead and you can write a note here if you want. RSI ? Click Create. And now this orangish line shows up, tells me I have an alert here. So, all right, let's go back to Altcoin Alert, see if we have any others to look at. Nothing's really jumping out at me based on this sort. So let's go over here to the trading activity sort, which I find the last few days has been more productive. Okay, the very first one here, we have trading activity with fire, a neutral AA score. Social activity is normal, but slightly below average. That's probably not going to discourage me. Neutral under short and long-term sentiment. And this upper value here is over 11%, so this is worth looking at. I already have this one open, and it's going to go off again. So it did have a big jump here in the 5 o'clock hour. Would have liked to have caught that, but this candle action doesn't tell me anything. It just comes out of nowhere. And that happens sometimes on these altcoins. It is trending down. It could go into a dip sequence. It's right here at the bottom, the Bollinger Band. Say it drops down here. Could be 3%. Something that would have been more desirable would have been earlier this morning to catch this dip sequence, because we've got a 1, 2, 3 dip going here. See, actually probably 4 or 5 dips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably would have gotten in right about here. Up to the SMA line is 3.45%. If I want to use some more recent resistance, then I could go to these candles here. See this group of candles here, and that's about 5.76%. Had I done that, I would have been out during this spike here. About 8 hours later with a 5% trade. That's a good day trade. So. It's hard to give a specific percentage into what exactly I'm looking for. With the mostly bull market that we're in, it's usually 5 to 10% on a day trade. I use the resistances more often than I do the indicators. The way I was trained in iCoinPro, they use the SMA line a lot and the Bollinger Bands a lot. I prefer and there is some resistance too, so they emphasize that as well. But I prefer to use the resistance, and that, in my mind, trumps the indicators because it's actually been there. So, all right, let's see what else we have on Altcoin Alert. Metal has some pretty good indicators, but it's bearish in the IA score, so that's usually a deal breaker for me. Phantom the same. I did trade this yesterday with a nice result. It's gone up 31%. When something's over 20%, that makes me wonder if it's done, if it's going to retrace. It's hard to tell, but numbers this high, something to take into account. Okay, ENJ, we've got fire under trading and social activity, neutral score AA, bullish under long-term sentiment, and upper score here 6.6%. It's been up 16.6% today. I think that's worth a look. And I actually did look at this and I did trade it. And it went down immediately. That happens sometimes. I was looking at it right here. I had 1, 2, 3, 5 candles in a row bouncing above the SMA line. I thought I had a good chance to at least go to this recent high. So I put my buy order in and it dropped immediately. So that happens sometimes. I'm not that discouraged by it. I've got my alerts set. I usually set them around 10% below my purchase price. So if this goes off, I reevaluate it for another purchase or a ladder buy. I was talking about this a little bit before I started the recording. I've done many videos on ladder buying. This can save your trades when they go badly. It's not a perfect strategy, but I personally like it better than stop losses because I hate losses. So in this situation, assuming I like the other indicators I saw, I would buy again. So I would have, and then set my target slightly above my purchase price. That way my initial trade breaks even. My second trade earns 10%. So between the two, they average out to about a 5% profit. And again, that's a good day trade. So, but I have twice the money involved. So in that situation, I actually earn more money in that particular trade. Hopefully it curves back up and gets my goal. But if it doesn't, I'm ready to ladder buy. And you have to do a little bit of budgeting and your balance to do that. So you don't put your whole balance in on every trade. I usually start with 5 to 10%, depending on how confident I am, and then and go from there. Did somebody have a question?
Yeah, CJ, this is Sean. Can I ask you a question about your ladder buy strategy?
Sure.
Yeah, so I was kind of in the same camp that you were as far as ladder buy versus stop loss, because I couldn't stand stop losses, because it seems like with a stop loss, it always just bounces right past me. I get stopped out and it jumps up past where I was before, and it really just irritates the heck out of me.
Mm-hmm.
But recently with this, this 19-point drop on BTC, how'd that work for you? I mean, did you have open positions that you really had to ladder super deep into, or what did you do in that case?
It's a good question. And ladder buying is better in an overall bull market. So that's, it's harder to accomplish the way I just described in a bear market. In a bear market, I'd handle it very differently. I'd still do it, but I would be I'd probably be starting out looking for, 1 to 3% profit to begin with. And then if it dropped, say 5%, I would try to ladder buy and just break even or make 1%. But with some of the swings we were having, especially what Sean just described, in the 3 trades I had this weekend, there were a couple on Saturday and a couple on Sunday. I think I put 2 or 3 I had 2 or 3 overall positions in the first set, and then Bitcoin, went up and then took those coins up with it, and I got out with some decent profits, and it dropped again. So I did it again, and then it went up, but not quite, and then dropped again. So you just have to keep an eye on it using your alerts, and sometimes, I've gone to 50%, below to ladder buy and had it work out. I've also done that and have it not work out. So actually, I'm in Link up and BNB up right now from over a week ago, and they're not doing well. So I'm either going to be stuck in those for a long time, or selling for a loss, or hopefully they do come up and take me out of those positions. I'm not sure. At this point, I'm probably down like 20 to 30% on each. So it's, we all have our comfort zones, the risks that we're comfortable in taking. I have higher risk tolerance than some traders, less than others. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Sean, but that.
No, it does. It's kind of like where I'm stuck at right now. I've got a couple of positions that are like 30% under, and I'm just gonna sit on it and eat the time until they come back around. So you make me feel better.
Okay, but if sitting on something inhibits your ability to do trades that you want to do, that look fundamentally good, then I take that into consideration. I also will take a loss if the coin loses a lot of volume. If it's 10 million when I buy it and it drops down to below a million, then I'll dump that and just say, if it doesn't have any volume, it's not coming back anytime soon. That's usually how it works. So, okay. Any other questions on ENJ or ladder buying?
Yeah, CJ, had a quick question. There's a mark where it hits 60 cents and it goes up to 73 between like 7 and 8 a.m. it looks like. Is there a way to predict that?
Okay. Gotta move this out of the way. Okay. 60 to 70. Are you over here? I didn't catch the time frame.
Yeah, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. right there, exactly. So it jumps up quite considerably right
Yeah.
there. Is there a way to predict that beforehand? Because they're not dropping very much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't jump on that.
If I could do that.
CJ, could I answer the question?
Sure, go ahead, Connie.
Okay. Anytime that now you've got a 20 is the gold line, right? So it's over your 50 SMA?
That's right.
Okay. Anytime that you're above the 20, that AMA, and it is on top of it and has such a large gap, it has such momentum, and you're following the momentum of the candles, but go look at your MACD. Your MACD is so wide open with your signal with your MACD over the signal that when you have that big of a gap, that's a lot of market momentum to go with. So you've got the green candles, the green bars in your MACD. You've got the width of the MACD. You've got the upward movement of your RSI, and you're on top of the 20. So as long as you're on top of the 20 and you're above the Bollinger Band, that is a huge momentum pump.
Yeah, I thought what Dr. Du was asking me about is if I could anticipate this move. But Connie has some excellent technical analysis that she's providing. Maybe you can't anticipate it here, but you can get a pretty good feel for it after a few candles have kicked in, because you've got the MACD opening up, like Connie described. You've got the pinkish line here is the 50-day moving average, we call the SMA, and then I've also added the 20-day moving average, and then it's above the Bollinger Band. So you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4 technical indicators. The RSI is also, almost a vertical line. You got 5 indicators now telling you that this coin's pumping up. So with that in mind, if you're looking at it at the time, this is a trade you'd probably want to seriously consider. Actually, in hindsight, you definitely want to do it. Of course, we don't have that information at the time, but if I was looking at this, after looking at Altcoin Alert or iCoinPro or one of those, those information sources and seeing this, I would have jumped on this. It would have been a nice day from, here. I probably would have looked for maybe, 5 to 10%. So,
question on what we're talking about right now, CJ and Connie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you just consider the 5-minute time frame on those indicators, or are you looking at multiple time frames?
On this particular move, it's on the 5-minute chart. When I did look at this earlier today, I started with the day chart. Actually, I updated my Fibonacci retracements. It's an advanced strategy, a way to look at retracing. But so I knew that it hit a recent high at 73, but I liked that it had some momentum on this chart too. So That's what made me interested in this. And I thought that it could at least come back when I bought it here, that it could, with this candle action here, it might be able to come back up. In retrospect, I had little divergence here because I had RSI going up and the MACD trending down. But I'm generally more into candles than I am technical indicators. But if you have both, like you do in this scenario, yeah, that's something you're probably going to want to do.
CJ, why is your RSI set at 20 instead of 14?
When in my RSI, it's a more conservative setting.
Okay.
And I use that since I use the RSI a lot for alerts.
Would you not want it to be on the faster period so you get it sooner?
Yeah, but if it's like when the RSI goes off on my 1 hour, that's usually more reliable. I find it to be more reliable than it is on the 5 minute. So I was looking for something kind of in between, and something that I watched another trader do. He suggested using the 20 RSI value, and I've had some pretty good success with it. So that's why I do it. But Connie's right. The trading view, I believe, defaults to 14 days, and she's talking about this value here on the RSI.
It'll be 14 of whatever period of time you're looking at.
Yeah.
So if it's a day chart, it's a 14 days measurement. If it's an hour, it's 14 or 20 hours. So it's whatever period of time you're looking at, not a day.
Okay. So yeah, it depends on the time increment then. So,
right.
Gotcha. I learn from Connie all the time. So. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
No, just thank you for the detailed answer. It really makes sense now.
Good. And we'll do one more on Altcoin Alert, then we'll move over to iCoinPro. Let's see. Matic is bearish. Looked at Solana already. Well, I think that's all we're going to have for now on Altcoin Alert. You can also sort this for some of these other columns: long-term sentiment, short-term sentiment, which is like an hour or less. I don't pay much attention to this one. I'm a day trader, not an hour trader, so I'm not discouraged what's going to happen in an hour necessarily. And long-term isn't like weeks at a time; it's usually a day or two. So if you hover over this, it's the last 24 hours compared to the last 20 days. So I think this is a more reliable value in this software. So
I will interject that Solana is a huge project. It's getting a lot of momentum because a lot of other projects are being built on that platform. And so it should really grow in its value. So you may want to put it on your list to target and maintain some visibility. I started at $3.35 in less than a month ago. And you guys can see how it's tracked. There's just a lot of response to the project because it's so strong.
Yeah, I hear good things too. And I staked it recently, so I don't do a lot of staking. But on Binance?
On Binance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I tried to get in. Yeah, they were talking on Friday, and Joshua was talking about a 49% APR deal that they had, and I was too late for that. So I'm in at like 14% over 90 days or 60 days. I don't recall, but I thought that was pretty good for a coin that I like anyway. So I don't like my coins just sitting around. I mean, I understand the value of having them, in a Trezor wallet or wallet or something like that, but I'd rather try to invest them. Of course, there's risk with that. Depends on what your risk tolerance is. But hey, we're a little off the subject because let's go back to day trading. Let's look at iCoinPro, Buddy Coin Crawler. Okay, for most of you, on this program, you received an iCoinPro training, the 1-2-3 dip. This is one of the other tools that they offer. That's another way I use to find trades. And then I sort it based on this average low to SMA line. I showed you before the SMA line is that 50-day moving average, that pink line, and then the low is the 24-hour low. So these tend to identify coins that are moving. I'm looking for 5% or higher. We've had a lot of double digits lately, with Bitcoin being as volatile as it's been. The last 24 hours, it hasn't been as volatile, so these values are lower. I find a lot of the higher values tend to be newer coins that I don't either know that well or don't have much of a trading history, so I don't trust them. But I have traded this one here, XVS. I looked at it earlier, so I have it open. And there that goes again. So this has had some nice volatility today. Not seeing a real obvious trade here. If it stays above the SMA line, some good candle action. Might go up here to the top of the Bollinger Band for 5%. It's also resistance. There's resistance here, here, and back here. By resistance, those of you who don't know, that's usually, in my mind, it's 3 or more candles at roughly the same value, where it's the coin can't punch through. So that tells me that's probably as far as it's going to go without some other factor pushing it up. So, Connie, how would you explain resistance? I'm so used to using the word, I don't always know how to explain it to other people.
I use resistance as my top of my trading range, and I use support at the bottom of my trading range, so that if the market is moving downward, or let's say we're at the top of it, what's the potential risk if I'm buying closer to the top of that trading range or the top of the Bollinger Band, that it could actually drop down to the tested support. Support usually will happen in at least 3 or 4 occurrences before it will break above that trading range on a breakout. So I use the bottom one as support. If it breaks through the bottom of that support where it becomes resistance, that's called polarity, where it changes from being the bottom to being the top of the lower trading range.
Right. I noticed that the 15-minute chart will give me a pretty good-looking 2-day trading range to look at. So we started this at about 6 p.m. It goes back to 6 p.m. 2 days before. Here's the middle value. So this is our trading range where these blue dotted lines are. So right now we're towards the top of the trading range. What Connie's talking about is the closer we are to this, the more likely it is to drop. So this is a riskier trade. If we're down here, as you can see, as we were yesterday in the late morning, at the bottom of the range, it tends to go back up again. So that's a very general description of trading ranges. So with that in mind, I'm not sure if I would do anything with XVS at the moment. Might set an alert either on the RSI like I showed you before, or a lower Bollinger Band, or maybe even this third deviation here. It did come down to here and work its way back up. Actually that if it were dipping, then the SMA line would be pointing down, but it'd probably be a 5% or 6% trade. We like that as day traders. So, okay, let's see if we can find one more on iCoinPro's Buddy Coin Crawler. We're a little more than a half an hour, so we're pretty good time-wise. I'm usually looking for 10 million or more volume. If it's a coin I'm familiar with, I might go down to 5 million, but T-Fuel, I've not traded that one in a while. Let's check that out. And this gives me a drop-down menu to TradingView, and it'll open a new window into TradingView. So a quick look at the day chart. T-Fuel is at pretty much near an all-time high. It dropped over the weekend like a lot of coins did, and then pushed up pretty strongly last couple of days. On the 1 hour, yeah, this would be kind of could get in here if we got some candle action to see if it would bounce back up to this recent high. For 2 or 3%, I don't think it's worth the risk. So I'm not liking anything I see here as far as a day trade.
Are you also looking at the volume, CJ, on that?
I do look at volume, but it tends to be secondary. Maybe I should prioritize it more, but I'm not seeing a lot here, and this is trending down. So I used to have the same thing that Bryce has on the side, but I just found I wasn't using it that much. And plus it really clutters up the charts, but
Sure.
I know he does it quite differently. He's not into these indicators as much, and prefers to rely on volume. And I'm kind of torn on that, whether to throw that in and rely on it too, or stick with what I've known that served me pretty well. I can't argue with anybody who wants to put in volume indicators and use them, but
as far as its daily volume, because it's been trading so low. I haven't looked at it for a little bit.
So do you mean?
Well, it kind of went quiet as a market.
Yeah, it's true. Come to think of it, 15 million is kind of low for this coin because it's been quite a bit above that in the past. So that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
In this kind of market, things have been quiet. They are the most risky. When the market moves away from us, they'll move first and they'll move the deepest.
That's good.
And I had a quick question on volume.
Okay.
Do you measure volume in terms of a ratio to market cap, or how do you measure it in terms of the size of the coin itself?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that. I have my, the 10 to 20 million. I'd like to see it as a minimum. But Connie brought up a good point: is comparing it to its past. Especially its recent past. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Do you have anything to add to that, Paul's question, Connie?
Well, the biggest thing about volume is the volume pumps price and price action, especially if you're a day trader. You want the most amount of action possible, and that's only through volume. The lower the volume, the longer it's going to take, and you are more vulnerable to getting the profit that you're looking for. So price action, I'm really looking at how strong is that volume, how strong is that momentum that is going to get you where you want to go.
So with that in mind, I know Justin Clark of iCoinPro does his sorts on the Buddy Coin Crawler sometimes based on 24-hour volume. And that would be another way to look at this. I was doing this for a while, but I found most of these values were lower than I wanted, so I went back to my old way. But I can certainly see the value in sorting based on 24-hour volume and getting the highest volume coins. Because you get, the classics, obviously, like, Binance Coin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Chainlink. Then you'll get some, Phantom's been trading like crazy lately. I had a nice trade with this over the weekend. And, Matic over 200 million. Connie and I can probably remember where, it was in the single digit millions and even below $1 million for a while. So,
Matic's expected to go to $1.
Yeah, I could see that.
So it's got 75% to grow yet, guys.
Yeah. So if you believe that on a larger scale, you can feel better about making a day trade or holding one, like Sean and I were talking about earlier, on a ladder buy if it goes against you. So that information can be helpful to determine whether to hold something or dump something, even in a day trading situation, to hold it for a week or two and wait till it pans out. So,
hey, this is John. Connie, you just said something about how the volume is a lot less than it had been. You get one number on this thing, and let's say it's 10 million. How is there a way to look and see that it was 20 million last week or 2 million last week? The one number by itself doesn't tell me much.
Well, actually, that's a higher volume than what it's had. Its history is not that high.
Uh-huh.
So, the thing that some of these coins are just getting a day pump and then they're gone again. It hasn't been sustainable, and that's where your coin's at risk. So, some of these guys have been quiet, and now they've had a little bit of a pump. And the market that's being driven, unfortunately, on the weekends has been the miners have been dumping a lot of Bitcoin. And since they've been dumping a lot of Bitcoin, then we get these big gyrations that's impacting the rest of the coins. Well, those coins that have had lesser values are more at risk to dropping and not sustaining and getting where you want to go. So just be sure that you're getting into trades that you're familiar with because it's your money, and you always want to preserve your capital, right?
Sure.
And if you believe in it, follow the trail. But just kind of know that once you get a sense and you work with the market, it's going to take you a while, guys. It's going to take you a while to learn the coins and where they've been. CJ's been trading, so actively. He has a sense of where these coins have been and where they've traded. You're just going to get that intuitiveness about it because you've had that experience. But that kind of history, if you were on TradingView, I'll tell you what. Go to TradingView. Can you go to that one on TradingView? It's got some really good information down in the corner, Bob. CJ.
On which coin?
Go to Theta Fuel because we were talking about that one. Just go in the TradingView, right? Okay. Now, down in the corner, you're going to see the performance of the coin. And, the 1 week, the 1 month, 3 month.
Right, those 6 boxes.
See the performance boxes on the bottom?
Right.
Yeah, and I do look at these.
So, here again, that might give you some more clarity and say, oh, you know what, it has been performing well. But if you saw that it was up and then it was really down and went away, then that's a different message, right?
Yeah.
But you can see 6 months ago it was really tall, and then a year to date's much less. So it's had its moments in the sun, and then sometimes it backed off, and that's why the average is lower.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I never looked at that corner.
Yeah,
it's very telling. But you know what? That's the promise of the market. Look at the promise of the market, guys, where it's made 163% in a month. You can't make that in the real world, or 300% in 3 months. That's exciting. These are exciting times. Mm-hmm. We have so much content in TradingView that's just outstanding.
Yeah, and to be candid, I've probably just scratched the surface of it. I did try to look at some of their trading guides and tried to do some sorts and just had all kinds of problems with it. But if you can learn the tech, it's really helpful to use some of the TradingView. Well, actually, what I did was I rely on Altcoin Alert and iCoinPro to provide that information because it's way easier to find. But TradingView has some of that kind of thing too. So, and then to develop a little bit more what Connie was talking about, when you have experience in this, I mean, you do it every day, for a couple hours, you'll develop, you'll see the trends and you'll be familiar with the history of the coins that you like. You'll develop your favorites. You might even get emotionally attached. So I would discourage that, but it's good to know the history. In T-Fuel, I just haven't traded that much. I think it burned me once over the summer, and then I sometimes hold grudges, which is probably just as bad as being emotional, you're like right. A coin than it is to dislike one. So, but
that's good. Thank you, Connie. That was helpful information.
Yeah, it's tied to Theta. Theta actually is that's going to be using instead of just having only YouTube. Well, Theta is going to be offering that same type of visibility where you can post videos. And so T-Fuel is a part of that Theta protocol. And unfortunately, it's been kind of the stepchild, and so it's followed behind what Theta. Theta had gotten a little bit quiet because it got behind in its technology, but it's now advancing forward, so it's probably going to get some momentum again.
All right. Well, that's all I have for going over Altcoin Alert and iCoinPro. I've also talked about the alerts on the RSI and ladder buying. So I've covered a lot tonight. I hope it didn't go too fast. For some of you who are new, there are trainings available online on these things. iCoinPro has the 1, 2, 3 dip training. And, for nearly every training I've ever gone through, I'll just do a generic search on YouTube to see what someone else does. And that's how I got the 20 value on the RSI that Connie asked me about earlier. So, there's a lot of good information out there. There's some junk too. You will have to see what works for you. And, with that in mind, I'll open it up to questions. Any day trading questions you have, if you want to expand it beyond day trading. I mean, I don't want to talk about, what's the 6-month, prognosis for such and such coin. That's just not, something I know much about. But I'm going to actually, somebody emailed me about something I wanted to go over. Patrick, are you out there? Patrick Bailey? Well, he sent me a message. So he asked me about
yes.
All right.
Here.
All right. You asked me about the iCoinPro forum, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the forum. I do look at this every morning. And Justin Clark, who's pretty sharp, puts out his view of Bitcoin for the day. And, he's in Florida, so it's often 4 or 5 o'clock hour. And here's where he talks about how he sees Bitcoin going for the day, does his technical analysis on it on the larger time frames as well. So that has value. And then some of the other traders will pipe in what they're looking at. So that can be helpful as well. They call them their buds, their buddy coins, hence the name Buddy Coin Crawler. So there's I was trying to see if there's an example of that in here. I don't know if they would like me showing you what's going on. But look, this guy here, he's watching Algo USD. A lot of them trade on Coinbase Pro. So, and then this guy here, Julius, he talks about a ladder position where he got 8% on Matic. So that's what I like about the forum. There are also other rooms where they talk about specific trading practices, and they'll even go over a specific trade. They'll do what I call a trade autopsy. If you have a trade go badly, you can post it in there with screenshots, and Justin and some of the other traders will look at it and say where you went wrong and where you can improve next time. So I think that's a good idea. So any other questions about the iCoinPro forum, Patrick, or anyone else?
Not about the forum, but I'd like to know why you use Binance on the international platform with VPN. Why do you do that?
Because Binance International is the largest exchange, has the most coins and the most volume. So you'll have to pull me kicking and screaming from Binance, but they'll probably kick me off someday because, I'll probably slip up on my VPN. Or maybe someone from Binance will watch this video and I'll get busted that way. But
is that a completely separate site, or can you transfer back and forth from Binance US?
Yeah, it's separate from Binance US. I mean, I assume Binance owns both of them, but yeah, the Binance US has only, projects that the SEC approves and things like that. So it's pretty limited. Is my understanding. I've never used it, but Connie, have you used it?
What's that?
Binance US?
I'm on it.
Oh, okay. Can you shed some light briefly on how it's different than international?
Limited on coins. There's 52 pairings. It uses USD, and I like that, honestly, because it's not the tether.
Yeah.
And so I really like that. It looks like Binance. It has the functionality of the basic Binance. It doesn't have the newest features that they've upgraded on the, but you don't have the ability to have the ups and downs as far as leverage trades and and margin trades because of the SEC, the regulations of the United States market on oversight. So they're in compliance right now. It's a KYC. And I think, to me, it's safer because it is a KYC. You're not going to have the bad actors in there trying to hack the exchange. The thing of it is you don't have the volume. You don't have the volume to bump the price. But the price seems to be fairly similar. But if you have a large position, it's hard to get into and get your position filled without the market moving on you. So that's a difficulty. So if you have any type of volume, then the larger market is going to be your friend. So it becomes a risk question. The one I'm most concerned about, honestly, is Kraken, because Kraken had that big vulnerability when the market had that correction. It had such wide swings that Ethereum dropped to $700.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And DOT went down in the single digits. Wow. I mean, a lot of people really got hurt, and I imagine there could be potential lawsuits involved with that. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. But what you're at risk is, what if the exchange all of a sudden you do not have access to it and your funds are there? Mm-hmm. They say, not your money, not your keys, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
We are all vulnerable. And that's one thing that Bryce and Aaron talk about, is that they use multiple exchanges just because they want to mitigate the risk and spread it across so that they would not be so impacted by any single accident or occurrence of somebody actually not being available. So
that's the risk that I take.
We are in a speculative market, and we know we're in a risk environment, that we just don't have the safeguards. And we've got people who are bad actors that want to take what we have.
Yeah.
What can we say, right?
Indeed.
But I think of the ones that I've been on, I like Binance US the best.
All right. There you go.
In the US. Now, the one thing is that they don't serve all the states.
Oh, yeah.
Like Coinbase does. Because there's 7 states that they don't serve. New York's one of them, and Texas is another.
It works in California. I'll talk to you offline about it.
All right. I've got a question from JCC. CJ, do you determine and highlight those trading ranges, or is it calculated by an indicator? No, I went back to my XVS chart where I just used the lines, and I went back to the 15-minute chart, and I just put them on like the low of the 2-day period and the high of the 2-day period. So there's no, particular indicator to do that. Okay. Patrick asked, if it's a buddy coin, won't it follow BTC and go up? Yeah, most of the coins do follow Bitcoin, but I think the altcoins, why we like to trade them is because they move more. Like Bitcoin might move up, 1 or 2%, and Link or XTZ might move up 2x or 3x that. So, that's more profit for us as traders. Of course, more risk as well. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to find a 2.5% trade for buying the dips in the buddy coin. Elma's asking about that. Not sure if I follow. 2.5 for buying the dips, buddy coins. Yeah, looking at either Buddy Coin Crawler or Altcoin Alert, you won't always find a trade that moment. Actually, that's common. I probably find trades immediately, maybe a quarter of the time. I usually have to set an alert or watch something for a while to get it where I want to get that value I'm looking for, either through a dip, for a 1, 2, 3 dip, like let's say I'm looking at this at 7:15 at night, and I see the trends down, but I'm not going to buy this when I see 4 red candles in a row. I'm going to wait for a while. And if I can, work on something on my computer and then look at it again, then, I'll do that. But if I need to leave, or if I want to get up and do something else, then I'll set an alert, and I'll come back to it if I want to, or if I think it's worthwhile. Okay. Thank you, Karen. Washington State can't use Binance US. That's a bummer. All right. Patrick has a nice comment. Spend a little less money on fast food and get the $15 trading view. Yeah, I bumped up to 30 a month because I want to have 30 alerts. But even sometimes I go beyond that, and they want me to pay $600 a year to get unlimited alerts. I'm considering that, but I haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. So, all right, guys, we're at about 45, 50 minutes. Anybody else have any questions about anything day trading involved, or even a little bit beyond that? All right. Then I will stop the recording, and I'll hang around to talk about anything. So those of you watching the video, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next Monday. Bye.